Welcome to the 8th round of second Indore International Grandmaster Chess Tournament 2024. 10 round tournament, so the final battle is now, the final phase of the tournament is there, and we have a lot of Grandmaster fighting for the top honors, as well as we have a lot of international masters going for the international Grandmaster norms. There are some untitled players who are looking for an international master norm. Such a tournament offers opportunities for youngsters to get international titles, and of course it's got a huge prize money. Tournament is being conducted in two sections. One is the Masters tournament, which are going to see the games from which, and the Challengers tournaments, where the players have a chance of participating with these masters next year by qualifying. They are the players who have rated below 2000. In the Masters category, we have as many as 131 players from 16 countries and 4 continents. We have a player from South America, this is Peru. We have a player from North America, USA, and we have a lot of players from Africa. We have Egypt and Zimbabwe, Zambia. We have rest of the players, several players from, of course, from India, but at the same time we have Vietnam, Korea, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and quite a few other countries as well. Iran we have, and so we are looking at a very complex tournament with 16 countries participating, and a total prize money of 35 lakhs is being given away to the players. In the top category, Masters category, the prize fund is 21 lakhs, and in the second category, in the Challengers category, is going to be 14 lakhs. The Challengers category will be it has its last game today, and now we come to the 8th round of the Masters event, where the Grandmasters are playing. Today is the 8th round, tomorrow we have 9th round, and the last round is on Tuesday. So let's say the top board, we have two very strong Grandmasters, Alexei Fedorov of Belarus or Belarusia, who is the leader of the pack, playing against Boris Savchenko of Russia. So once upon a time they were part of USSR, but now they are neighboring countries. And let's see, all equipped with very strong knowledge and very strong material. Nowadays all players are, the chess really has grown in the world because of the easy access to the data, internet, and we're going to see a very tough battle here. Fedorov usually plays e4, but sometimes he has played d4 as well, and Savchenko always Sicilian defense. There's e4, c5, and the knight f3, d6. We have a standard variation, knight f6, knight c3, and pawn into pawn, knight into pawn, and a6. One of the most popular openings of the day. This is known as the Sicilian Najdorf variation, and we can see a very interesting battle here. There are various moves here. White has bishop e2, bishop e3, bishop g5, bishop c4, bishop d3, f4. Quite a few options, and a4. We have as many as 7 or 8 options here. Let's see what White does. And White makes a prophylactic retreat. It's, I think, not a very common move, but it has been played, and White wants to prevent any tempo. So White rules out the possibility of moving bishop to c4, but he's going to develop the bishop at d3 and short castle and play f4 and try to attack the enemy quickly. So bishop, knight c6, more or less we are now transposing into the classical Sicilian, bishop e3, e6, and now f4, b5. Here we have two options. White can go with bishop d3 and short castle. Another option is to, after bishop d3, move the queen to d2 and try for long castle, but I think it's advisable to play bishop d3 here, followed by quick short castle, and then we could have a very interesting position. Players have played quite quickly. White has taken about 12 minutes, black has taken only 7 minutes. Let's move the board 2. On board 2, we have first international master of Northeast, Sahil Dey of Assam, playing against the top seed of the tournament, Grandmaster Inyan from Tamil Nadu. He's the top seed, and let's see how the game goes. Inyan, a very well prepared player, and also because he's top seed, players are very careful against him. Sahil plays a closed Sicilian and not the open variation. What we saw in the first game was the open Sicilian. Now it's a closed variation, and it's a slower system where the game is decided not by virtue of you playing the opening, but by the virtue of your strength in the later part of the game. It's the best way to avoid opponent's preparation. If if you think that your opponent is better prepared than you. So probably a wise decision for Sahil, a very strong player in the first international master from Northeast. So we have a standard position here, and D3, a slow system. As we said, black wants to advance on the queen side. Somewhat an unusual move, A4, played quite quickly. So yes, a few seconds have been taken. So obviously it's a theoretical move, but not a very common move, because it encourages black to open up the game faster. And let's see, A6, black is prepared, and bishop E3 and B5. So the advance B5 could not be stopped. And what does white gain by the move A4? Perhaps we can see white takes. White has a powerful rook on A1 compared to black's rook on B8. That's what white got. And now queen C1. So game has just taken the strategic part of the game has begun, and white is planning for a slow strategy, trying to exchange the dark colored bishops with bishop H6. And we can see a slower battle compared to the game 1. Let's now move to the board 3. On board 3, we have Kashish Jain playing against Neela Shah. Neela Shah has been playing very enterprising chess with his own strength, and Kashish has had a good result in last 2 rounds, and he's on the top tables here. So E4, E5, there's a king pawn opening, and here is a Spanish opening named after the Spanish champion Roy Lopez, but it's basically a Spanish game. And A6, a standard way of playing this, knight F6 and D3. A slower move, white generally castles here, and that leads to a standard position which has been played by several world champions. There's not a single world champion who has not played this position from white side. So you can see the popularity of the system, and white, of course, changes the move here. He goes for D3, a slower setup, which means that he doesn't want to get into the regular way of what the world champions have played. Because if the opening has been played very commonly and several world champions have played it, then it's possible that you could have a series of forced moves, compulsory moves for a long time. White wants to avoid that. And with this move, white wants to take the pawn, bishop into knight, followed by the pawn on E5. So black defends the pawn, white plays C4, the Duras system, a very powerful system. Duras, international master from USSR, he introduced the system. When Vishwanathan Anand was young, he defeated me in a very nice game with this system. And I didn't know that he could have the understanding of this complex system by a champion, but yes, he played an excellent game, and there I felt that I was playing against a future world champion. So a very nice system. G6, not a common move here. Bishop D7 is more common, and bishop G7, and H3, castles, and rook B8. So roughly equal position. Duras system is mainly aimed against black's advanced B5. Black may not be able to get space on the queen side, and white tries to play D4 only after proper preparation. It's a little sort of confusing part of this is that white doesn't know where to put the C1 bishop, and that's the reason why the system is not very popular, but yet a very potent system and a lot of scope for positional play rather than the direct aggression type of game. So let's move to board 4, where we have K. Ratnakaran, international master, playing against Grandmaster Dipan Chakravarti. Ratnakaran is from Calicut, and Dipan is originally from Madurai, now staying in Chennai. And Ratnakaran always plays his own openings because he's an original player and doesn't believe in preparation. He doesn't believe that one has to try to imitate the champions, and he makes his own way, his own theoretical lines, and he's done quite well with this. So slow game can be expected here as well. Not many things happening here. Just a routine development, trying to get center control both the sides and trying to develop. Dipan has taken half an hour, so surely he is not aware of what Ratnakaran wants to do. And Ratnakaran, as usual, has played very quickly. He has taken hardly any time for the game. An interesting battle ahead, but no action is expected in another 10 or 15 moves. Let's move to board 5 now. We have here Gautam Krishna playing against Audiyamaya. Gautam Krishna is from Madhya Pradesh, local player, and Audiyamaya is from Goa. Audiyamaya is international master and a player with amazing resources and is going for his Grandmaster norm, and Gautam Krishna trying for his international master norm. So let's see a standard opening. As we saw yesterday, this opening is called Indian defense. There are various Indian defenses, but this move is the key move for Indian defenses. And white has white plays a normal move. Black has several options here. Black goes for g6, which means that black is either going to play the king's Indian defense, which I see that Amaya normally plays, and there's the option of Grunfeld Indian defense. There's the option of Benoni Indian defense as well. But as far as I know, Amaya plays generally king's Indian defense. So knight c3, bishop g7, and knight f3, castles. We have a standard position of a king's Indian defense, and white has delayed the move e4, and white is waiting. Probably white wants to play e3 and make it difficult for black to get e5. The idea of bishop f4 played first by Topalov in recent times is to prevent black from getting the standard e5 break, but it's very common to play c5 in such a setup, and after c5 black tries to put the pressure on d4 from a different side. Because the white bishop is not on c1, the c3 point could be vulnerable. So c5, d5, queen a5 are some of the standard variations here. b6, so intending to play c5 later at a later time, but black wants to play first bishop b7 and exchange a few pieces with knight e4. So bishop d3 taking care of the e4 square, bishop b7, and now comes castle and rook e8. So now black is ready to play e5, and if white moves the bishop, then e4, and black could even win a piece. So this is a time when one has to say, I think black has found a good way of playing. Rook e8 seems to be a good move. e5 is now coming, and white plays d5. Not a very accurate move, one would say, because black has the option of c6 here as well, and e5 as played in the game, and also e6. So since black has three options, one is e6, one is c6, and one is e5, I think d5 probably is not a great move. Amaya goes for e5, and now white plays bishop g5. Any other bishop move would lose a piece to e4, so bishop g5. Now e4 is not possible because of knight into e4, so black would probably play h6 and bishop into f6. So white has given the best minor piece. White has already given the best minor piece for a knight, and black has one bad piece, bishop on b7, which can be regrouped back to c8. At the moment, black seems to be in a very comfortable position. Black could play knight h7, f5 perhaps, and with good game, white is going to, if white hurries now with e4, black is going to play knight h5 and knight f4. So white must wait and stop e4. Knight d2 comes into consideration, queen c2 comes into consideration, and of course e4. Black's next step is black is going to play c6, attacking the d5, and when you play e4, black could play knight h5, and the knight could land at f4. That sort of plan can be made. Knight d2, a5, preventing expansion on the queen side, and then comes bishop c2, and now black has various options. c6 is not good now because of bishop a4, so moving knight to h7 could be an idea, and perhaps even rook f8 is a possibility in case of bishop a4. So black is now going to have a setup where knight probably goes to h7 or h5 if white plays e4, and the rook goes to f8, black plays f5. The bishop on b7 gets regrouped to c8, and that's the way black is going to expand on the king's side. Let's move to the board 6 now. On board 6, we have Saurav Anand of Bihar, who had won the national under-9 championship a decade back, more than 10 years back, and also the national junior championship. He's playing against Shyam Nikhil, Grandmaster of Tamil Nadu, and let's see how the game goes. This is the Bogol-Jobo Indian defense or Bogo Indian defense. Bishop d2, a5, a3, bishop into d2 check, queen into d2, castles, knight c3, d5. A standard opening, e3, b6, pawn into pawn, pawn into pawn, bishop e2, bishop b7, knight e5. One minor piece exchange, so the hanging pawns are not going to be all that effective. Yet I think c5 looks like the most logical move here. c5 followed by knight c6. Knight d7 is possible. White is going to play f4, so I think c5 perhaps looks like a standard move. And opening where black doesn't have much problems, but yet black has not solved all the problems. It's not a complete equality, but on the way to equality. The exchange of dark color bishop favors white a bit compared to the regular positions. So let's move to the next board then. On the 7th board, we have woman Grandmaster PV Nandita. Nandita represented India in the Olympiad, 44th Olympiad held at Mahabalipuram, and a very strong woman Grandmaster playing against a Grandmaster from Iran, Tahbaz, a strong youngster from Iran. Let's see how the game goes. Nandita always a e4 player, an attacking player, and Tahbaz always he always plays Sicilian defense. And here we go, Nandita tries the Alapin variation, and the game could get converted into a French defense. White plays a good strategic game. White wants to play d4, after which the game gets converted into French defense from the Sicilian defense. Now it needs to be seen if Tahbaz is actually a French defense player. If he's a French defense player, he just plays knight c6 and you get the advanced variation of French. But if he's not a French defense player and doesn't know much about French defense, then he has to take some steps for preventing white from playing d4, and that's what happened. Black plays d4 in order to prevent white from getting d4, and now we have a interesting setup where white's f1 bishop is not good, but if white could play c4 and g3 bishop g2 and maintain the pawn on e5, white could get really good chances. So g3 a logical move, and queen c7 pawn attacked, so pawn must be guarded, and knight ge7 planning to bring a third attack against the pawn. So bishop g2, knight g6 and castles. And over here we see a pawn has been sacrificed. What does white want to do after knight into e5? Interesting question. Knight into e5, knight into e5, and queen into e5. So knight into e5 comes into consideration. Looks like a prepared variation, and because of sacrifice too early in the game, and probably Tahbaz is yet to is contemplating over the various variations and possibilities and what's the purpose of white's sacrifice. Apparently it's there has to be something very deep, and as we can see, the queens black must try to exchange queens after knight c into e5, knight into e5, queen into e5. Because if queens are not exchanged, if second time knight into e5, then white has very strong attack. But objectively, knight into e5 is a possibility. I'm trying to find out what happens in knight into e5, knight c into e5, and perhaps c into d4, knight into f3 check. So white will remain a pawn up. Now white will remain a pawn down. What does white have in return will be seen from the next few moves. Let's move to board 8 now. Here we have Uzbek Grandmaster Marat Zumaev playing against Indian Grandmaster Saptarshi Roy Chowdhury of Calcutta. So closed Sicilian. Saptarshi also plays the closed system against Sicilian. Sometimes open, but Zumaev plays any opening, and Zumaev is basically a tactician who goes for kingside attack and tries to beat opponent by virtue of tactical play and initiative rather than a slow strategic game. Saptarshi also mainly not a strategist but a tactician, so we are going to see fireworks in this game probably. h3, bishop into f3, queen bishop into f3, e6, castles, knight e7, bishop g2, castles, f4. So white is now trying to advance the pawns on the king side. Black will advance the pawns on the queen side, and black has a safe central square knight on d4. White's attacking chances are not all that great because white doesn't have a knight on f3, and if white has to attack on the king side, then a standard plan in this pawn structure is to play g4 and queen e1 and queen h4 and then try to put knight to g5, but in absence of knight on f3, attack doesn't seem to be easy. I think a comfortable game for black. Let's move to the next board now, board 9. And here we have Sudarshan Bhatt of Karnataka. I think first time he has come to the top tables. Sudarshan Bhatt, our talented youngster from Karnataka, playing against Grandmaster Nguyen of Vietnam. And let's see how the game goes. It's perhaps one of the first few games by Sudarshan against a Grandmaster. So let's see how he plays. Alapin system, safe system, and black replies with knight f6, the most active system, which doesn't simplify. Black doesn't aim at equality, but black aims at a unclear position. Knight f3, knight c6, all standard moves. I remember when I was a teenager, I played this system sometimes because I couldn't match the preparation of strong opponents, grandmasters, Russian grandmasters, and that's what I think Sudarshan seems to be doing. There we have c4, bishop c2, d6, and pawn into pawn, e5, castles, bishop g4. I think black has a comfortable game and probably a well-known theoretical path, but I have not come across his exact moves, but I think black has a comfortable game. Let's move to board 10, where Russian Grandmaster Igor Glek is playing against Rajesh Nayak, and Glek is a great theoretician. In the 90s, is now playing for Belgium, and usually gets very good positions, but yes, he's lost some of his attacking skills, and he's not a top seed here. He has lost some rating point, but still a complete player in his own right and a very difficult opponent. So Rajesh plays a sharp variation, and we have a complex position where black has a strong knight in center, but black also has a weak pawn on c6, and let's see how the things go. White wants to play knight d2 or knight c3, and knight c3 probably, and then if possible knight a4, first driving away the e4 knight. So probably a new move, because black has been thinking here, and white doesn't want the black piece to be on e4, and after the knights are exchanged, probably white takes with the queen and goes knight c3, or takes with the knight as well. Black could have problems with the g7 bishop, which has no scope, and the c8 bishop is open, but it doesn't have any target. So it's possible that knight could have better target in this position than the bishop. We move to the next board. On the 11th board, we have AP Joshua playing against Ilam Parthi. Ilam Parthi was World Under 10 champion and World Under 14 champion. So let's see how the game goes. English opening, and eventually white gets into regular King's Indian defense. Quite a few King's Indian openings this time. A standard variation, a slower variation where black doesn't want to allow simplification by exchange of queens, and a basic position has come where white will have a slight edge but nothing concrete. On the 12th board, we have Nitin Babu playing against Grandmaster Hesham Abdul Rahman of Egypt. Hesham is coming for the first time to India, but has played in Europe quite a few times, and a complete player, a solid player with a lot of potential ideas. And Nitin Babu has been doing well in this tournament. He goes for the Berlin variation. Hesham goes for a Berlin variation, which looks like a obvious equality, but it gives a lot of chances. D4 is the main move here, and white goes with rook. Even I think Nitin is playing a safe game. There's a sort of position where white is trying to get a position where white can't lose, and that's very important. A simple position played by Carlsen as well, and many other players. And it's not easy for black to win this game. The earlier systems were knight on c3, but Carlsen devised a new system with c3, knight d2, and knight f3. So let's see. Yes, I think bishop f4 and bishop into d6. And black has a bad pawn structure, but yeah, white goes for the plan. Bishop c4. I think white has technically a very slight edge, although we will say that it's not adequate. Black has problems with the b7 bishop, and in such position where there is no pawn breaks available, knight could be a superior piece, and suddenly a lot of moves have been played. Okay, a lot of action. Okay, yeah, so position where action has taken place but not really fruitful. White wants to play h5 perhaps, but h5 and h6 doesn't really lead to much. Black is safe. After h5, black can try knight h2, but then black bishop could come to, white can try knight h2, knight g4, but doesn't look feasible. Only problem is that black is playing without the b7 bishop. The bishop is not really participating. So we'll have small 10 minutes break here, and I'll see you in 10 minutes perhaps with some guests, and that will be wonderful to interact with the guests while watching the games. See you soon then, don't go away.
strategy check.
Welcome back. We have guests here, Aditi and Mangesh, for our this session, and they are members of Fair Play team. But let's come back to the games first, and we have a very interesting position between Nitin Babu and Grandmaster Hesham Abdul Rahman of Egypt. Nitin Babu is from India, and Hesham Abdul Rahman is a Grandmaster, a strong player. Complex looking position is actually quite coming from quite a simplified opening of Berlin defense, and apparently White has played a solid variation in which a draw is more likely than a win. The bishop on b7 is hemmed inside the pawn, and that's a problem for black. But the disadvantage seems very basic, and I think it's fine. Shall we move to the next board, perhaps?
One thing to be asked, sir, that the minor pieces, the set of minor pieces, is very curiously like the f6 bishop and the b7 bishop, both different bishops, and d3 and the knight. So the bishop on d3, and what's your thought on it? Because it's bishop and knight against double bishop. So any kind of influence it makes?
Yeah, generally, if all the other things are equal, two bishops are better than bishop and knight. But all the things equal, we don't have. For example, if we have black as a doubled pawn, and as a result the bishop on b7 is inside the pawn chain. It's hemmed inside the own pawn, which means it has no target. So from that point of angle, from that point of view, I think there is no real disadvantage to White at all. But White is trying for an advantage which doesn't seem to be very easy, because as soon as White exchanges a rook, the black pawn structure gets the black pawns get undoubled, and then that position could be better for black. So White has to exchange rooks without changing the pawn structure, and then White could have good chances to improve. At the moment it seems difficult to improve, but yes, White has a solid game, I think. But this advantage of two bishops is no longer possibility here. We can't consider it to be advantages because the b7 bishop does nothing.
But if we just say that two bishops more influence with the pawn structure, or it just...
Yes, bishops in a close position, knight is better than a bishop. So it's a semi-close position. For the bishop, it's a close position. b7 bishop is completely within it is useless for an attack. Bishop on f6 is useful for attack, but White has guarded the h4 and d4 points very well. The bishop has no penetrating points. So if bishop was to attack White king, say f2, there's no way of doing it. So a powerful piece which at the moment is unable to get through the enemy king. So that's the reason why the bishops are hitting the air, as Korchnoi once said. There's a very famous game in the World Championship match in Korchnoi and Karpov. Karpov defeated Korchnoi in a nice game where Korchnoi had two bishops and Karpov had two knights. And Korchnoi couldn't understand what was his mistake. After the game, when he asked about the reaction, he said, "I don't know what went wrong, but my bishops were hitting air," and he's simply improved his position without, my being able to do anything else. So that sometimes the bishops can be bad also, because they have their own limitations. They can't challenge, they can't control the squares of different color.
Mm-hmm. A very interesting question to be asked, sir. Yeah, one point is that if any relation with the queen to the minor pieces, or there is no such influence to this position?
Yeah, this is being a close position. It may not have. For example, this is quite a close position. Unless you have queen and knight versus queen and bishop, which black has b7 bishop and queen, and White has queen and this knight, then it's going to be a big advantage for White. But if in the existing pawn structure, with the bishop on f6, black just plays d6, and it will be equal. The d5 pawn could become weak, of course, if the bishops are exchanged. Any minor piece exchange is going to help White a bit in this position. Any minor piece exchange with any bishop is, or any bishop with any knight with any bishop is going to be good.
So keeping that bishop on f6 would be good for black, and keeping on a...
Yes, because otherwise White gets knight to g5. After knight g5, White must probably take both the rooks, or White could take the knight on g5. But then black is restricted to passive defense. Once you take bishop into g5, then black is restricted to passive defense, but perhaps still a draw. Knight g5 directly trying to exchange a piece, black exchanges both the rooks, blacks take the knight as well, and then plays d6, and it looks like a fortress where no side can improve. So there are always limitations of fortress in any position. You have a strategically good position, but there's a fortress and you can't penetrate into the enemy camp. That becomes a draw very often. So there are various aspects to this. Creativity, after all, decides the fate of the game. Let's move to the next board now. So we have board 13 here. Yeah, we have board 13. I think it's the first time we have Menon reaching the top boards. Vianney Antonio Di Cunha of Mangalore, Karnataka International Master has been leading the tables, but unfortunate loss has driven him to the third board. Third board we have Menon, Rajendra Menon. I have not met him or not seen his games. The game goes in a Karokan exchange setup. Oh, Pano attack, ambitious opening. This attack was originally the idea of Russian Grandmaster Vasily Panov and the world champion Botvinnik, 5 times world champion, Garry Kasparov's trainer. He popularized this, and some players are specialized in white side of this. Some players really play this very well. Vishwanathan Anand, for example, plays this very well with white. Karpo plays this position very, very well with black, and that's why in this match Anand couldn't beat Karpo even once in this position, but Anand has beaten everybody else. And Kasparov, who never played this in his life. So again, Botvinnik always played this, but his student Kasparov never played Pano attack. So again, a matter of choice.
So you mean that some players' style is very relevant to the pawn structure selections?
Yes, to the liking of the player. I think it also has to do with the liking of the player and also the strength of a player. Like I'll quote an example of one of my students who's a good friend, and he learned chess at the age of 16. Sharat Tilak, my friend, international master and member of Indian team in 2 Olympiads. So well, he learned when he was grown up, and he was a grown-up beginner, and we were more or less friends rather than. So I was teaching, and I found that he liked French defense, but he played French defense in a very bad way, and I found that his style was more suitable to Sicilian defense. And, but in friendship, it's not a coach and student relationship. So I told him, don't play this. He said, no, I like this. Then I told him that do one experiment I asked him to do, and that was to play alternatively Sicilian defense and French defense. And he played some Sicilians and some French. The 2-3 tournaments were there, so he got 9 blacks. He got 5 blacks with Sicilian. He played 5 blacks with Sicilian. He won all of them, and he played 4 French, out of which he drew 1 and lost 3. So I said, whether our battle about our argument on French is a good opening or not has to stop. You are not a good French defense player. And he said, yeah, that's good. And he stopped playing French defense. It's a matter of, I played French defense myself, knowing that, I didn't like the position, but I still played it because it has a surprise value. So you could play any opening yourself as a surprise value. But yes, this is, I think, a standard opening. White has played a very simple line. The most critical lines, he has knight f3. Bishop g5 is the most critical line here. And black plays bishop e6, a modern variation. This was first played by Grandmaster late Tony Miles. Interesting idea. And black simply wants to take the pawn. Knight e5. I don't know if this is a theoretical move, but it looks very logical. And pawn into pawn, knight into knight, pawn into knight. Queen f4, so it seems like a move. And yeah, this is a position where black should not have any problem in equalizing at the same time. Well, I prefer black in this position, but it should be, since it looks like opening preparation, it should be a equal position. Queen d7, queen c7, quite a few. Queen d7 looks most logical, and white takes on c4, and black exchanges the bishop and puts e6, roughly equal position.
But does that matter on the d4 pawn in the long term?
Like d4 pawn is weak, but c6 pawn is weak, and you need to be Capablanca to win this position with black. So it's a famous game, Laskar Capablanca, and I see any number of times, and I try to play. I'm not able to win very often with black, but yes, it's a position which the d4 pawn is a greater liability than the c6 pawn, and the first player to realize that was Capablanca, who beat Laskar in that match. A very nice game. You must have seen that game.
Right.
Yeah.
Any
Show, please.
very little question. I mean, usually we, as a beginner, we teach like we should not have double pawns, right? And
Yeah.
there is a bishop blocking the e pawn as well. So, I mean, my question is, as you said, you will prefer black here, right? So, what make you preferring black as a beginner? I mean, I need to know.
Yes, actually, a beginner wouldn't like this position. Frankly speaking, a beginner would say that black has violated all the principles. So again, it's tough. But if we go back to the actual essence of chess, because okay, the theoretical books are basically for those who know the basic principle. But chess is a warfare game, and the first thing is the safety of the king. So if the kings are not safe, then there's nothing else important. Second comes the material position. So if there is equal number of army, then the position is equal. If somebody has a larger army, the war is going to be won by that if the king is safe. So again, king safety, the most important. Second is the safety of the material. And the third becomes the activity of pieces and your ability to hit back. And then fourth comes the center control. After this, if all those things are equal, then the other factors like double pawn or a weak pawn comes into picture. Here the kings are safe. So the matter of material is important. If black saves the pawn, white must take bishop into c4, which means that black solves the problem of the e6 bishop by exchanging the bishop, and black plays e6. So now both sides are ready to castle. And the relevance of the badly placed bishop goes because if you don't capture it now, then you will not be able to, then you will be material down. So that's a bigger concession you are making compared to that. Black also has a possibility of rook c8, but then queen into a7 sleeps, okay. So these are some options. Rook c8, you can't play bishop into c4, you can't play bishop into c4, queen into d4. It's again a wild game in rook c8, whereas a simple game in queen d7, black is assured some slight advantage. But all these principles come into picture only when the king safety and material equality is there. No strategic principle can be made. In one of the cases when one student was arguing with me, I was playing a position where I had an extra pawn and a good position, and the student kept on saying that this pawn is weak. So I told him the material is not equal, but then finally I had to tell him, I remove this pawn from the board. Now who do you prefer? He said, now I prefer it. Okay, so without the pawn, if my position is good, then surely my position is good with the pawn. So yeah, so again the relevance of the army, larger the army, more likelihood to win the game. So that way, white must take bishop into c4, and black's problems are solved.
Great insight, sir. Sir, one simple observation here is that any boldness is lost nowadays for young children. Like they are not playing this kind of positions more often. They're playing very strategically. Like
even if they play such positions, they analyze with the competitor. So it's also it's not a question of it's probably the necessity to play competitive chess at a very young age makes it difficult. But first thing, a successful chess player must be very very bold in the decision making and very confident. The first thing I put in my academy, the first board I have is Chess is Not for Timid Souls by world champion William Stenitz, who was the strongest player in the world for 28 years. And that's important. So if you don't have courage, then war is not for you. And even peace is not for you, because then war is in your opponent's hand. So I think chess is not for timid souls, and if you're afraid of losing, then probably your results could be really hampered. One has to be very careful with this.
So if you're young, then you should play a strong position, like a bold position more often.
Yes, I think there's a time to learn, and you need to play more aggressively. Yes, I can understand the players play. You saw the games of the Grand Swiss League or the World Cup, and the players took all sorts of risks. It's not only Carlsen, but Pragnanand and Gukesh, everybody. And in the global Grand Swiss League, it was Vidit who took risk of all times. So at the top level, if they can take risk with so many things are at stake, why can't we do it at a lower level? That's the question. And somewhere I think one must make sure that we are not afraid of losing. If you're confident, then we take a decision. If you're wrong, we lose. If you're right, we get a good position. And that confidence one should have. The courage is the most important factor in success in any sport. And because of the uncertainty, element of uncertainty, no sport has a clarity who is going to win, a better player wins. It doesn't always happen. So you have to give importance to the uncertainty in sport, and in that uncertainty, anything could happen. We have to be prepared to that. Let's come to this game between Sri Lankan international master De Silva, who was recently, 3 weeks back, he won the Asian Under-18 Championship held at Al Ain, UAE. It's very strong. He won it with 1 round to go. And we have we have a youngster from Chhattisgarh, from Raipur, Dhananjay. He has been playing top tables and probably trying to get his first international master norm. Let's look at this game, and sort of unusual system. Blacks moving the knight would be bad because white would be in a good position, d4. So aggressive setup. Black seems to have equalized here. Black can take on d4 or just keep on. I think black has a good game here. Black is equalized. White doesn't seem to be doing very well. Black has to be a bit careful about the king side. When you don't have a knight on f6, then the king side is weak. h7 can be attacked very easily.
Right.
So that's one of the dangerous parts. And the f6 break, after exchanging the pawns on d4, f6 break could be a possibility which could lead to complete equality.
Okay, so keeping the tension in the center is better, or releasing the center and taking the cd4 would be better idea for the black?
Yes, here at the moment, because black will have a vulnerable king side. The king will not be on e8, it will go to g8 eventually. And when you have the king on g8, your opponent has a clear-cut plan of attacking your king. Now you need to have a target soon, and cd4 gives that target, that's a d4. And we try to attack the target more by playing f6. So our bishop comes to f6 perhaps and attacks the d4. So if we don't have a target in enemy's position, then our play will be planless compared to that of opponent. So I think cd4 in this structure would be good, but it's usually delayed till white moves the b1 knight, because the white's knight's best square is at c3. So black generally waits for white to develop the b1 knight to d2 and then captures pawn into pawn. But yes, eventually pawn into pawn must be played. c4 would be a strategic blunder. So okay, we have.
And what about that bishop on light square bishop, because it's not yet developed, and now it will develop on the b7 and it will stay for a long time there?
No, I think black's bishop b7 was not a very necessary move. I think black can play a5 and b4. That would have been a5, b4 and bishop a6 was a more logical plan even at this stage. a5 and if a4 then, I mean here, okay, here a5 and if a4 then b4. Otherwise put the bishop on a6. It was a possibility. But okay, he wants to go for a slow game. He will probably prepare and rook c8. Okay, he wants to start his own attack first. How effective it will be, one doesn't know. Knight e3 is a possibility, and then probably takes knight b4. Bishop goes to b3 and a5. Yeah, black wants to play sharp game, but okay, white is at a risk of losing e5 pawn. But if white doesn't lose that pawn, then as in Nimzovich's book, the knight on d4 by white can be a very dangerous piece. There's an outpost for white at d4, and white wants to take. This is a typical position where knight goes to h5 and creates weakness. Absence of black knight on f6. So white is going for the king side straight. How quickly black gets counterplay, that's important. g6. So first serious weakness has been created, which means that now white has a clearer plan and not a very desirable move, this one, g6.
So what will he do with the weak dark squares on the king side? So
yes, one possibility is to exchange the bishops after supporting the e5 pawn, queen e2 and bishop g5. Another option is first put bishop h6, then queen e2, and then eventually try for moves like knight g5. Just try to get.
I want to go sorry to interrupt you, sir. I want to sidetrack you for a very important point here. The players nowadays are not reading so many chess books. As you are saying, a lot of quotes and a lot of players you are giving influence, and the example of great players like Capablanca and studies. You read a lot. So anything to be suggested for the young students, like they should study some more games of any particular player?
Well, I think books written by good players, that's I think the criteria. I do not try to see the content of a book when I'm buying a book. I see if it has been written by a good player, that's enough for me. So because you have a sort of knowledge of the insight of the particular player, whereas ordinary player giving the games of world champions doesn't really it doesn't attract me, because I'm not going to see any specific additional things apart from the score of the game. If an ordinary player is writing a book on the world champion, he's going to give the moves. That's all. Moves you can get it on the computer.
Correct.
Any chess program gives you. But yes, if you have a idea, that's important. And one of the games, I had a room partner, Grandmaster Nilotpal Das, and a very strong player in those days. He defeated Nigel Short when he was a teenager. And we were playing, I finished my game and he had a winning queen ending, he has a pawn up. So I came to the room, and when he came, I said, yeah, you won, didn't you? I glanced at his board about 10 seconds and then I left the board. And then he came, I said, you won, isn't it? He said, no, it was a draw and I couldn't win. And I was surprised and I said, I can't believe that. And I just played that position and I beat him so many times. So he was he was really confused. He said, you only had a 10-second glance at that position, and then how do you know and why am I not able to defend this position? I said, the position is not particularly defensible, and there's nothing I'm contributing to this, because a very similar position from the sort of general strategic parts of it had been discussed by Alekhine, and Alekhine had got such a ending. And in my best games of chess, volume 2, Alekhine has written 3. So in the volume 2, he has given a plan how to improve, not to exchange the particular pawn, and how to win. And it became very easy, and I played that way. Not having read that book, Nilotpal was not able to find it. So a great player, but where he missed out on something which has been written by a top player. And that's why there was a series called What Every Russian Schoolboy Knows, and they had some basic endings where they were discussing, so the basic endgames which they knew. So I think it's important to see what the thinking process of top players is, and that is what is missing in today's players. And the computer playing machines, they play better than human beings. It's like a calculator, but calculator doesn't tell you how to do 38 into 622. So you have to do 68 into, say 38 into 622. You have to do it yourself. You put it in the calculator tells you this is the answer, that's it. So the preparation of many of the children today is like, give the position to the engine tells you the move. You say, okay, I was in good position, I did this bad, move, and then no further improvement, because that's what they are. The computer doesn't tell you what went wrong. They said it was bad, that's all. So it's like using computer for preparation as a teacher is, I think, a big blunder. And we must say what Vishwanathan says, that computer is just like an electronic book. Computer is an electronic book where you have a lot of data available under one view. Need not carry all those books, and you have a wonderful way data. And sometimes also it's important to use computers sometimes, because they point out a blunder. If you prepare a position which according to you it's playable, and then suddenly you see computer says it's not playable, then you modify your previous play in order to make it playable.
Okay.
The computer refutes your move. It doesn't mean that you are completely wrong. It says that you have missed something. You made a arithmetic mistake, and you correct the arithmetic mistake. That's the way it is. Let's move to the board 15, and the top boards are very interesting as well. But let's go to Nitin versus I think Nitin is with Railways from Chennai, and his father was also a player, Senthil. And we have Matta Vinay Kumar from Union Bank of India. So Nitin is already an international master. I think he's probably made the Grandmaster title also, I'm not sure. And Matta Vinay Kumar is looking forward to his international master norm. Black has played a system, Benoni system, which is supposed to be not a opening for complete equality, but opening still play. White seems to be more comfortable here. A knight is ready to go to c4, which would attack a d6 point. And of course, there are tactical possibilities of knight into e4 as well as bishop a6. So should white succeed in getting the knight to c4, white would be better. Or anytime white gets e5 break successfully, white would be better.
Okay.
If black is able to exchange the c3 bishop with any minor piece, black is better. So again, complex. One possibility could be a4.
So from white side, it is attacking on the d6 is the main part of.
Yes, attacking on the d6,
yeah.
but you never believe in winning the pawn. Your opponent will always defend it, and then you will break e5. So your bishop should be on f4 actually, and knight on c4, and then you break e5, and then your d pawn is much stronger than the c pawn of the enemy. So somewhere I think yes, after a4.
I'm more curious about the piece's role, as you already very experienced player and you having a great intuition of the position. So just can you explain for the viewers that what kind of a role that each player has in this position?
Each piece?
Each piece, yeah, each piece.
Well, I think one thing is that the black's entire counterplay depends on the existence of black square bishop. And now that the white is controlling that, black plays knight d7. After the exchange of black bishops, white has a better middle game. But if you look at endgame, in this pawn structure, if you remove queens and probably rooks, but even if you remove queens, black has a better endgame. So that's one of the matters of concern. And the key point in this position is control of c4 square. If black controls c4 square, black will be better in an endgame. If white blockades on c4 and is able to maintain knight on c4, white will be better even in endgame. But now it's a matter of control of c4 square as well as control of e5 square. c4 square influences e5 square, and at the moment it seems that white will have a clearer play, but black does have a plan of queen f6 and trying to play rook b2 after the exchange of bishops. So it will depend on the exact calculation, but at this moment I think black is cramped and the bishop is exchanged, so white should be better here.
Again, the pieces will be exchanged. Which kind of pieces should black
exchange? Well, black should never exchange the white bishop on g2. It's a bad piece and will remain a bad piece. White will quickly play rook e1 and bishop f1 and try to put bishop somewhere at b5. In that case, it may be necessary to capture. But if white solves the problem of f1 g2 bishop, then white is already in good position. Queen c2 here looks like a logical move, and then perhaps rook fb1 and bishop f1. Meanwhile, black will take on c3 and play queen f6, and then again it becomes a tactical possibility. If queen into queen and e5 is possible for white, white could be better.
So this position is more dynamic, you say?
Yes, it's more dynamic, and I think after natural queen c2, white should be okay. It takes the bishop, and is he heading for direct e5? If direct e5 is possible, then it's very strong, but I don't know if it's coming. Let's see, knight c4, bishop a6, knight into d6 is a sacrifice, which is a good positional sacrifice if he can maintain the pawn. So even knight c4, bishop a6, knight into d6 comes into consideration, queen c2. So instead of exchanging, I was thinking of playing queen c2 directly. He plays queen c2, and he wants to put probably rook to b1 and then or rook to d1 and e5. Black will probably play rook e8 here because the rook does nothing on f8, and to tackle the problem of a c7 knight is a problem here. In one of the famous games, Kasparov versus John Nunn put the knight on b4 because it's outpost, and it became such a useless piece because it threatens nothing. As long as you are denied the access to c2, you are a useless piece on b4. And then finally he had to retreat to a6 and c7 again, where it did nothing. So it's just a bad piece here.
So putting right piece to the right place and the right time, it is very important while you're playing the game.
Yes, if the c7 knight was on e5, probably black had a good position. So it's impossible. It takes several moves and there is no route. The only route is via d7. Black will be cramped in Benoni opening, and that's the reason why black is not completely equal. Also, if white gets knight to c4 and maintains it 2-3 moves, it's always a tough position for black then.
Tal used to play Benoni, then any thought?
Yes, Tal and Fischer has played, and I also played it against some players who cannot play the balanced positions well. So I think it's a matter of choice, but the best comment on modern Benoni when Tal was successful and Fischer played a few times. So Fischer was asked a question how he considered modern Benoni, and Fischer gave a very good reply. So if God plays with God, God with white will win. So again, a very perfect reply that chess is not sort of concrete science, it's abstract science. It's not science basically, it's abstract activity, and your performance matters, not the objectivity. It's not a mathematical book where some arithmetic is wrong. It's something different than that, something more creative. It's the artwork, and you cannot say that this artwork is better than that artwork. You can't compare two pictures. You cannot compare Mona Lisa with something else. So it's again a different matter. Let's come to the top game where Fedorov is the sole leader of the tournament, and Fedorov is from Belarusia and Savchenko is from Russia. Savchenko was almost 2006 rated about a couple of decades back, and I think has dropped a few points. It is playing quite well here. A standard system where I have had several nice wins with white here. I prefer white here clearly, but let's see how Savchenko plays the system. Although I developed the bishop to d2. Yeah. This is one of the ideas of Alekhine. When this pawn structure, Alekhine was able to get b4 from white side and knight at a5, and then it became very effective. But black has already started counterplaying the c file. So now onus of doing something is on white. If nothing happens in move another 10 or 15 moves, white doesn't get tangible initiative in next 10 moves, black is going to be better. A player like Kasparov, for example, would win almost all the games with black in this position. I've seen some of his games in this dynamic structure. Karpov and Geller, Alekhine, they have won very nice games with white in this structure. And again, a dynamically balanced position where Dorfman says that this particular setup, Dorfman says black has a permanent advantage and white's advantage of more or less tactical nature. If white doesn't do anything, black wins. So I think that's a very nice way of putting it. Dorfman, a student of Pulugoski school, has a lot of insight in this. And let's see, knight d4. White wants to go f5 and create some weaknesses, but f5 is always met with e5. And absence of light colored bishop becomes evident. White has to create some play on the king side against the king. So let's see how the game goes.
So in the last round of any tournament, it is very interesting to see top players, strong players are playing the tournament, the matches. So I want to know what the how they deal with the psychology, because there might be a lot of pressure they are dealing with.
Yeah, I think not all the strong players are able to deal with the pressure all the time. So there are points when they succumb, but even the strongest players, they have succumbed sometimes. And the players who have really not succumbed to the tournament pressure or the match position pressure are some very few all-time greats. After the Second World War, before that they were really very there's a difference in the chess scenario after the Second World War, where people are professional players. Otherwise, we look at the all-time greats in the earlier time. Dr. Laskar was he was 27 years world champion, but he was doctor of mathematics. And Dr. Tarash was number 2 as a doctor of medicine and world champion. Alexander Alekhine, Dr. Alekhine was doctor of law, and they had their own profession. So, you know, they were casual players, and they were there because of their strong personality. So they never took the pressure. Another advantage was that they were not playing for huge money. They were playing for title and creativity, and for that they had the courage. Things have changed, of course, subsequently, and when a lot of money is in question. But yes, Bobby Fischer, for example, Petrosyan sometimes succumbed, Korchnoi succumbed, but Bobby Fischer, Karpov, Kasparov never succumbed to any tournament pressure. Kasparov made blunders, but not due to the tournament pressure, just because of some impulsive. Kasparov's at that level one of the few players who actually make impulsive actions, but Kasparov has lost a game or two, like the one game against Lottier and one game against Anand, where he made a move instantly. Sometimes a big problem what a player does, it's not the tournament pressure alone, but impulsiveness could strike you at any time, and that's a different issue. But top players, I think the difference between a champion and a non-champion is, I think that a champion is able to play well when it matters most, and the others probably are not able to do that. One can't be winning all the tournaments, and that's known to everybody. So obviously you have to have some sort of differentiation between the important tournaments and not so important tournaments. And okay, Vishwanathan Anand, when he played Kasparov, that's the only time he lost his nerves, because Kasparov really outplayed him psychologically. But otherwise, even Anand has strong nerves, and in a must-win situation, Anand is also able to win. So Carlsen always, like in a must-win situation, Carlsen always wins, and he knows when he's going to win. Like in the World Cup game, he made a draw with Praggnanandhaa with white pieces and smoothly won the game with black pieces. Once I saw some of the players do that, Khalifman, for example, when he was playing against Ganguly in the World Championship knockout match, he just made a draw with white pieces and won the game black, comfortably with black. So some players have that sort of confidence. Alexei Drew did that to Matthews Widler. So these are the players who are unaffected by the pressure, tournament pressure, and that's important. But most of the top players aren't affected by that, unless they are totally dominated by opponent's personality, which rarely happens. If you look at Karpov and Kasparov, they have played, I think, over 150 games, and the difference is only of 2. I think if Karpov has won, say, 7 games, Kasparov would have won 9 games, and other games have ended indoors. So where it's not a matter of that sort of pressure. They know each other well, and they try to give their best. I think the secret is giving your best at important moments. The pressure has to be tackled, and more you are performance conscious, it's more likely that you make mistakes. So just play the normal game and not try to think of the consequences of the result. I think what affects a player is the performance consciousness. One has to avoid that. So they are aware of this, all of them, and they, at this level, they even have psychiatrists. They have treatments with psychiatrists, and there's psychotherapy going on, sports therapy is going on. So they're all very strong players from the mental condition point. They have done the conditioning, I think.
Basically, they enjoy the process of being a chess player.
So I think also at the top, we must see that no players have reached the top without having a passion for the game. I mean, those who have been at the top have enjoyed playing immensely. Even if they're not playing for money, they enjoy it equally. So that's important. If you're really playing at championship and a medal and the Champions Trophy at a very young age, then probably you're not just passionate, you're passionate about winning. So, okay, it's a good habit wanting to win everything, but then you need to have a passion for the activity which you are doing. Otherwise, you're not likely to be very successful, because you will not be creative enough to think something yourself. The creativity comes from a desire to do something for yourself and not for public. Artist draws a nice picture because the artist likes to draw that. It's not nobody is going to be in exhibitions unless people have appreciated. So that's how the chess is. Game of chess, earlier it was that unless you really did well, you wouldn't play a tournament. Now things are different, that you play tournaments. So again, I don't know if it's the right time to play tournament when you are a beginner. It's a matter of personal choice. But I think that a beginner who is probably still making illegal moves shouldn't be exposed to tournament where they would further lose their confidence. I've seen even in last year in the national, some games ended with illegal moves, or one illegal move was made in a national. I think a player need not play national if one can make illegal move. That's a thing different. One has to be a good player first in order to play a tournament. That's, I think, one of the requirements.
Coming for that point, sir, we are doing our fair play checking this tournament. And
yes, what's fair play about? Because I know I was in one of these committees, and FIDE has recently started this fair play commission where you can be a fair play organizer, where you decide. Now, the cheating basically obviously has started because of the strength of computers. And since the computer, it's like appearing for an arithmetic exam with a calculator with you. So if somebody has a external help, then obviously no one can match that. There are at least hundreds of programs which can beat Carlsen very easily. As a result, the requirement for fair play has arisen, and now perhaps since both of you are members of this committee, so Mangesh and Aditi, both of you, please let the viewers know what is the Fair Play Commission is all about, and how do you check the something going wrong, your own experiences, and have you actually found something suspicious yourself?
Interesting point is, sir, that you saw one incident and it was happening.
It happened
with
to
you.
me myself 9 years back.
Can you share can you share this few points with us so we can just continue on that particular point?
Oh yeah, it was. I think in those days, 9 years back, there was no Fair Play Committee. I was playing the strong tournament in Delhi. It is named after Dr. Hedgewar. It was sponsored by Bharatiya Janata Party and the Government of India. So it was a valuable tournament. From that, VIPs were there. Every round was inaugurated by Minister Ram Madhav. Everybody was there. So at that time, suddenly after winning 4 rounds, I was surprised. I was paired with a player who had a rating of 1,500. He had defeated Abhishek Das, my own student, who is about 2,380. And Abhishek, I know he is a good player, and he couldn't. I was wondering what's wrong, so I started playing. My opponent was very consistent. In the only consistency my opponent had was the time interval during 2 moves. What I noticed was he played all sorts of nonsense moves, yet he did not make any directly losing moves, and he took equal time for every move. So okay, even if I play queen into queen and he has to take knight into queen, and there's no queen exchange, but there's a piece capture, and it took reasonable amount of time, and I thought that there is something about signaling. He doesn't want to play too quickly because somebody else is receiving the moves and telling him the moves, and I complained during the event. So Arvind Singh and Dharmendra Kumarji were there. So Dharmendra Kumarji, as per the rules, I didn't know the rules. He said, go and play your game, we'll look at after the game is over. As soon as the game was over, he was taken to the common arena, where luckily there were journalists. Rakesh Rao of Hindu group was there, and because it's a government tournament, the Air Force officers were there, and they checked and they found that he had a lot of wires. He was geared with so many things, and he had a communicating device where he couldn't afford to speak, so he had to use the tap strategy. And subsequently, when he confessed to police, he said that every time he made a move, he would tap twice. Okay. And then somebody would ask a question, has he moved the king or queen? If it's yes, then you have to tap twice, and otherwise once. So king moves, the single tap, no. Queen moves, single tap, no. And then rook moves, double tap. Okay, your opponent has moved rook, so is it rook to e1? Yes or no? And he needed 2 or 3 minutes to communicate that. And the consistency of this, every move taking about 2 minutes time, that made me suspicious. So it's, I think, a matter of slight alertness. At the same time, also wondering how could one play so well at that, no mistakes. And subsequently, when he was caught and in confess, he said that actually my mistake came on move 63. So that's again the difference in human and competitor, because a human being can play, a calculator can calculate very well throughout. When Shakuntala Devi ji was there at the program, one of my friends asked a very, I was in college then, he was also, so he asked a very pertinent question, that if you are quicker than calculator, fine, but how much time you could do it? 6 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours. A calculator would give correct answers for several weeks. And that is where human limitations, we need help of these techniques. At the same time, we need to prevent that. But I just use my discretion as how the player could make such moves and how he was so illogically consistent in his behavior.
Great point, sir. Actually, Gopakumar sir is a fair play officer of All India Chess Federation, has shared us this very interesting incidents with you. So you got that fair play. Because of you, we have started this all fair play concerns. And our team, actually, this is my second tournament, like a national under 15. I was a fair play expert, and my colleague is also fair play expert, national fair play expert. So we generally try to, the player has to go through undergo checking with all the rounds. Like every round they have to undergo checking with everything, like electronic devices we are going to check, mobile phones, like wristwatches. You know already that in playing tournaments is more also very technical nowadays.
Yes.
They're having mobile and having wristwatches or any Bluetooth or any earbuds. recently we encountered one problem outside India as well.
Yes.
So in this tournament also we are trying to force players not to carry any electronic devices. So the player has to play good chess over the board, and that's our main motto. Like they have to be a fair game instead of having a assistant of any machine instead. So prevention is our main motto. And I guess player like you, when you talk about technology, and in recent year also it has been developed, like artificial intelligence is coming up. We have to be more aware.
Now it's more dangerous actually.
More dangerous,
Yes.
right? So player can cheat in any time. We are not saying that it has to be rectified immediately. During the game we cannot do anything, but after the game we try to again go to the freezing room, and we force player to like undergo. He has to go one more time, undergo checking, and then we catch him if anything goes very suspicious during the game, after the game, and before the game. Now the scrutiny becomes so tight, the security becomes very tight. So this time, fortunately for us, under 15 national got no incidents of any cheating, and fortunately for us, up to this point, we have not
Yes, I think
any incidents.
Yeah, it's I think very important, because yes, cheating is a big issue, and it has to be tackled. And because I played 7 Olympiads, but my last Olympiad was 2002, and in 2022, when I was the head of the delegation of Indian team, as soon as I entered, the chief arbiter called me and he said that you are allowed to come here, but you must see the regulation that you must come 20 minutes later, and you shouldn't carry mobile or even a pen. That's for everybody. And he said that because you are a player yourself, I think, and also a trainer and the head of the delegation, no eye-to-eye contact with any of the players, with your players or the opponent's players. Maybe other teams also, please avoid that. But with regard to your match, when you stand, you always stand behind your player. You will never be in the front, so that there can be any your actions or your expressions could reveal your opponent. So that also gets into that, because I have seen some deliberate cheating on part of some players in the Olympiads, where like they make some different faces when you are in different type of positions. I have seen some, particularly, I won't quote the countries, but there have been some people who nod their heads in different way when they have to suggest or approve of or disapprove of. So there are possibilities of cheating, where different type of cheating still go on, and the match fixing and the things do go on, where nothing can be, if a player wants to lose, then cheating is very much possible. That can be done, but at least taking external help is being prevented very good. So yes, I think it will be wonderful. So what is the reason for you to choose this rather than going for the being arbiter? Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say that fair play job is not done here. Like once you checked all the player, after that we have to go through all the results, actually what is happening, so that we can analyze the game later on. And if we find out something, let's say if there is a rating difference of 300-400, and if a high rated player lose, that will be our that will become our concern. I mean, we have to check that also. So a lot of things are going on. This time we are not even allowing the score sheets of previous round. I mean, no chess information you can take in.
Yes, that rule has been there for the last 60 years. So even the previous score sheet, making use of the score sheet for memorizing, so writing future moves is not allowed. Yeah, so that you are observing? Yeah.
Yes, sir, of course.
And you have not been able to, at the moment, anything suspicious, or you have not yet had a result where you were confident that somebody cheated, yeah? It's good to find everybody playing fair.
We need more evidences as well to like the player will get disturbed mentally maybe if we say that he is suspicious and we are undergo training without any reason during the game.
Yes,
before
during the game, yes, I agree.
So I guess for the betterment of the game, the FIDE and AIC have started this fair play system in our country. So I guess player will more focus on playing good games rather than having the technical assistance. And if we just focus on the prior tournament where we are doing the arbitration, and fortunately for us that both of us are in the arbitration field. I'm the international arbiter, and she is also a national arbiter. So, and she was also a player, and I also played some few tournaments. So, for chess, we are more towards like we think that playing good chess is more important. Rather than having anything else like move fixing or match fixing at the last moment, should be avoided by any means. So I guess by your kind of player, like we are huge fan of your games, and by other big names. So when we see the games, if any player who is having a rating like 1200 or 1500 or even 2000 is challenging the player like a Grandmaster level or Super Grandmaster level, and is taking assistance and beating that upper level player by using the technical means, it can go any time. Like memory card, even if you're carrying, it can be a suspicious part technologically. So if he's carrying that, it affects the game overall, affects the overall interest of the game.
It also affects the entire sport. I mean, the sporting is all about playing fairly. If that's, I mean, the skill comes secondary. It's basically fair and equal chance, and who is better in that. So I think fair sportsman spirit itself is, I think, something playing as per the rules, and somebody violates the rules, that's more serious than anything else. I think a bad play is permissible rather than a sort of unfair play, in my opinion. So it's wonderful. I think it's time for a break for us. We'll just take a look at the Sahil Day versus Inyan, and I think Inyan was in a worse position probably. That's, so A4, the move A4 seems to have been a useful move. We left at this stage, and B4 perhaps. Yes, if black played B4, then black has to capture knight into D4. That's a presumption. Although a move like E6 can't be ruled out, but knight G4, a strange move, and bishop G5, and H6, and bishop D2. So now he wants to play E6 and drive away, but the knight comes back, and now this looks like a dubious move. Perhaps it's necessary, but see, the knight on E3 blocks. It has a potential good square at C4, but it essentially blocks the bishop on D2 and queen on C1, and knight F6 was a possibility as well. Knight into knight, bishop into knight. Now black cannot castle, and black plays knight D4 and knight into D4, C D4 and bishop D2. And black cannot castle. White threatens B3 and rook A4, after which the B4 pawn is lost. So I don't know, B3 looks like only move, but after pawn into pawn, and rook A8 is a big threat, B4 is a threat. This is a position certainly a clear advantage for white, I think, and the players have agreed to a draw. Sahil Day, the first international master from Northeast, is from Assam, and Inyan is the top seed here, a Grandmaster. So I think somewhere here, I think it's a courage. If I was his Sahil's agent, I might have taken this decision, but today I'm quite, I would definitely play this position against a stronger opposition as well. I'll quote one of my own examples, which I think for players. I was playing against Grandmaster Taimanov, several times candidate, and who had lost only to Fischer and once to Korchnoi. And it's a very strong player. He played Taimanov variation. In those days, there are no books, and he played Taimanov variation, of which I didn't prepare really, because I knew that whatever I did, he was going to play Taimanov variation and he was going to know better than me. So I just played, and I needed half point for my last international master norm. And we got into a position where I was slightly better. He actually proposed the draw. Now that was a interesting moment. If I had taken a draw, I was getting good prize, and I was also getting my international master title. Then I decided, I looked at it, my position was better, so I decided to play, and I defeated him, and it was a good game. And now I look at it, it's almost 100% accuracy. So it's, I think sometimes you are motivated, and like she really liked the action, because several years later, when the Indian team went to Russia and we met him, then as soon as he came, he said hello to me, and he told the interpreter that he has defeated me. So, I think, so he appreciated that also. He knew I was. So I think, I don't know, Sahil's, maybe the position is not good also. Maybe I could make a mistake. But I would still play this position with white, whatever blacks play. At least white seems to have they played a little. Yeah, queen C7, rook A4. B3 looked more logical, queen C5. And yeah, okay, queen B1, bishop. Okay, they have played a few moves. I thought they had agreed to a draw there. But this also seems to be, I think, a sort of convenience. I'm sure that white has a chance to improve, and white could have tried b3 quicker. But okay, at this stage, perhaps they have played. Somehow, I don't really like this position for black, and I could be wrong, but black is a very difficult position. So let's have break here, and okay, viewers, will join you in about 10 minutes time, and well, don't leave. In 10 minutes, we'll be back to you. Thank you. Welcome back to the 8th round of the second Indore International Grandmaster Chess Tournament. 131 participants from 16 countries are playing here, and we have as many as 10 Grandmasters, 2 women Grandmasters, and 25 international masters aspirant of getting Grandmaster titles are participating. We have a large number of participants in the second category also. This is a Masters event where more than 50% of the participants are title holders, which means they have an international degree by the World Chess Federation. And then we have a next tournament, which is a Challengers tournament. We have a record number of 287 participants, and out of this 287 there are various countries being represented as well. So we have a interesting tournament. The Challengers tournament gets over now, and the Grandmaster tournament, the main Masters event, will have another 2 rounds tomorrow and day after. Today is the 8th round. We have a very interesting position. On the top board we have Grandmaster Fedorov of Belarusia, who is an overnight leader and also leader previous round, is playing against Boris Savchenko of Russia, in a very complex position where Fedorov has an excellent chance of checkmating his Russian opponent. So let's see, it's a complex game and we have a lot of interesting here. But meanwhile, we also have here chess organizers and chess parents, and of course professionals in their own way. So I welcome you both, and please, I think we could share our views. So how do you, as you are associated with the tournaments, not perhaps in official capacity, but you are contributing to that. So how do you look at this, and how do you, what are your what are the thoughts which come to your mind by looking at such events which are recently? How do you intend to improve them, or your experience with this tournament being associated as parents? Please.
एक पेरेंट्स के तौर पर तो मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि इंदौर में ये जो अपॉर्चुनिटी प्लेयर्स को मिल रही है, इंटरनेशनल लेवल पर इस तरीके के आयोजन होते हैं, इसके लिए एक प्लेयर्स को और एक पेरेंट्स को 5 to 6 लाख अप्रॉक्सीमेटली एक टूर्नामेंट में खर्च करना होता है। IPS एकेडमी और MP चेस एड हॉक कमेटी के सहयोग से यहाँ पर हमारे बच्चों को यह खेलने को मिल रहा है, जो कि और वो भी बहुत सहज सुलभ है। इंदौर में यह टूर्नामेंट आयोजित हो रहा है, इसके लिए हम साधुवाद करेंगे पेरेंट्स की ओर से, आयोजकों का। हम भी एक पेरेंट्स से साथ में हेल्प भी कर रहे हैं। अक्षत खंपरिया सर के साथ में कंधे से कंधा मिला रहे हैं, ताकि जो भी हम छोटे से छोटा भी एक स्टेप भी फॉरवर्ड करने में, अगर मध्य प्रदेश की चेस को फॉरवर्ड करने में हम लोग सहयोग दे सकें, तो इसके लिए हम लोग यहाँ पर हैं। अपायत आदित्य गोयल जी हैं, मैं सुनील पवार, हम दोनों के बच्चे भी खेलते हैं। मेरी डॉटर है, अभी वो मध्य प्रदेश स्टेट को रिप्रेजेंट करती है, 13-14 नेशनल उसने रिप्रेजेंट किए। गोयल जी का बेटा है नव्य गोयल, उसने भी काफ़ी नेशनल्स में मध्य प्रदेश को रिप्रेजेंट किया है। और अगर इस तरीके से टूर्नामेंट मध्य प्रदेश में आयोजित होते हैं, लास्ट टाइम भी एमराल्ड हाइट्स इंटरनेशनल में आयोजित हुआ था, तो काफ़ी बड़ा एक्सपोजर था बच्चों के लिए। अभी जस्ट नेक्स्ट ईयर फिर से यह आयोजन है, बहुत बड़ा आयोजन है, और हम धन्यवाद करते हैं अक्षत जी एंड पूरी टीम का कि इस तरीके बड़े आयोजन यहाँ पर आयोजित किए जा रहे हैं और बच्चों को एक्सपोजर मिल रहा है। थैंक यू।
जी आदित्य जी,
ये डेफिनेटली एक बहुत बड़ा एक्सपोजर है बच्चों के लिए, क्योंकि ऐसे टूर्नामेंट्स के लिए बहुत समय और बहुत पैसा लगता है, एक नॉर्मल किसी पेरेंट का अगर देखा जाए। उससे बड़ी चीज़ ये है कि किसी भी एक पेरेंट के लिए ये चीज़ डिसाइड कर पाना कौन सा टूर्नामेंट उसके बच्चों के लिए अच्छा है और कौन सा नहीं है। ये सारे स्टेप्स में मैं अक्षत जी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ, बिकॉज़ वो हमेशा हमारे साथ में खड़े हैं हमारे बच्चों के लिए बताने के लिए कि कहाँ पर उनको करना चाहिए, कितना कौन सा टूर्नामेंट उनके लिए बेनिफिशियल होगा और किस तरीके से उनको बच्चों को आगे बढ़ना चाहिए। तो वो हमेशा हम लोगों के साथ में है, इसके लिए उनका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और ऐसे टूर्नामेंट आसान नहीं होते करना, लेकिन एक बहुत बड़ा विज़न जिसके लिए चाहिए वो शायद अक्षत जी के पास में है। जिस विज़न के साथ में वो टूर्नामेंट ऑर्गेनाइज़ करते हैं, हम एक छोटा सा सपोर्ट उनको ज़रूर दे पाते हैं, तो हम भी अपने आप को एक धन्यवाद समझते हैं कि हम कुछ ऐसे बड़े टूर्नामेंट का पार्ट हो पा रहे हैं। वो ये सारे टूर्नामेंट जो है कहीं ना कहीं मध्य प्रदेश चेस को बहुत आगे बढ़ाएंगे। थैंक यू सर।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, तो ये बहुत वंडरफुल टूर्नामेंट है एंड वी कैन गो ऑन विद द एनालिसिस ऑफ द टूर्नामेंट। सब आपको अगर कोई जानकारी देनी है या प्रेक्षकों से कुछ कहना है तो प्लीज़ feel free to ask, and the common questions of the parents and all the players, as well as we see the games as well side by side, so please.
कुछ पेरेंट्स के मन में जो हमेशा क्वेश्चंस रहते हैं, वो एक सभी पेरेंट्स का एक डिलेमा रहता है कि उनके बच्चों की कोचिंग कैसे करवा पाए, वो कैसे उनको कोच को सेलेक्ट कर पाए कि जहाँ से उनको प्रॉपर कोचिंग मिले। दूसरा, उनका क्या प्रोसीजर, क्या पाथ होना चाहिए आगे बढ़ने के लिए, जिससे बच्चे अपनी क्योंकि इन एनी केस बच्चों के ऊपर पढ़ाई का भी प्रेशर है, साथ ही साथ वो कहीं ना कहीं सक्सेसफुल होने के लिए खेल में भी वो अपनी जो उनकी रुचि की चीज़ है उसमें आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं। तो दोनों चीज़ों के बीच में किस तरीके से बैलेंस मेंटेन किया जाए। और तीसरा जो सबसे बड़ी चीज़ ये है कि ये सारी चीज़ें करते हुए कैसे आगे बढ़ा जा सकता है। पेरेंट्स क्योंकि उनकी अपनी जिम्मेदारी है, उनको अपने फैमिली, अपनी लाइफ, सब चीज़ों को मेंटेन करना है, साथ ही साथ बच्चों को भी आगे बढ़ाना है। तो तीनों चीज़ों को कैसे मेंटेन किया जाए, इस चीज़ के लिए सर आपसे थोड़ा सा हम अलाइनमेंट चाहेंगे।
एक तो पहले हम स्पोर्ट्स की मूवमेंट को अगर देखते हैं तो आजकल स्पोर्ट्स की मूवमेंट थोड़ी डिफरेंट लेवल पे हो। मैं सारे स्पोर्ट्स की बात कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन स्पोर्ट्स की जो ओलंपिक मूवमेंट है, आज हो या महाभारत के टाइम हो या 2000 साल पहले ग्रीस में जो उसको ओलंपिक मूवमेंट कहते हैं, लेकिन महाभारत में भी हम देखते हैं कि वहाँ प्रतियोगिताएं होती थी जहाँ पे सबसे अच्छा धनुर्धर कौन है, सबसे अच्छा रेसलर कौन है, जिसके लिए भीम और दुर्योधन की मैच हुआ करती थी, इनके अर्जुन की मैच हुआ करती। तो ये इवेंट्स काफ़ी पहले से हो रहे हैं। कॉम्पिटिटिव स्पोर्ट्स सारे कंट्रीज़ में एक पार्ट ऑफ चाइना में देखेंगे तो कुंफू कराटे, सारे अलग भी कराटे एंड कुंफू अलग अलग देश में आप देखते हो। तो ये सारे वेरियस जो मार्शल आर्ट्स हो या दूसरी कुछ स्किल्स हो, ये इसके प्रतियोगिता या एक कंपैरिजन होते रहती है। लेकिन वो कंपैरिजन एक नॉर्मल थी कि इट वॉज नॉट अ पार्ट ऑफ रेगुलर लाइफ, लाइक इट्स बेसिकली इट्स नॉट द ओनली थिंग। व्हेन रशिया मेड चेस एज द मेजर सॉर्ट ऑफ नेशनल गेम, लेनिन जी ने क्लियर कह दिया चेस कैन ओनली बी chess cannot be a profession, it can only be a recreation. So this is also important, and the Olympic movement itself is for amateur sports. Amateur sport, like we look into the times when we were playing 40 years back, 50 years back I started playing, and then you had a normal routine school and college which just like other children. All you had to do is put in some extra work, so you slept less at that time or you did something else, so you needed to do from that time. So we are going to think in those terms of nobody wants to be a professional, nobody has decided to be a professional at that time, and the win or loss didn't matter. I remember in the inter-school championships, one of the brilliant boys who always lost to me became subsequently, he got admission into IIT and he went, Mumbai IIT, he went to USA and settled down. And so, you know, it's, the success isn't related with the petty success in the inter-school championship or the national championship, because to be a professional chess, to make a professional chess career is not agenda. Now, since the competition is looked at in a different way and as a sort of battle where the excellence in the first level is checked, sports is basically for amateur players who enjoy, who come there to enjoy, and those who are better get those medals. Others are happy also for participating, they have enjoyed. And that sort of atmosphere is required. Now, when you're expecting performance, then we are actually, it's a conflict between the ideology of sports where you play for recreation and the best one gets rewarded. That is somewhere conflicted. And when the children play tournaments at very early age, then they don't know if they are really to participate, because participating casually doesn't mean anything. At the same time, we have athletes who are studying 16 hours a day, whether it's chess or any other sport. So somewhere that professionalism has come, but then why at a lower age? Well, my question is, under 8 world champion has never become under 10 world champion, and under 10 world champion has never become under 12 world champion. It's somebody else who did at that stage, and very few world junior champions have actually become world champions. So under this circumstances, what are we looking at? Are we looking at one-time success of being a national champion or state champion under 8 and then, okay, we are just like anybody else? Also important thing is when children perform and players are perhaps a bit touchy, what happens is everybody performs, somebody performs well. Now somebody performs bad and somebody performs good in different tournaments. When somebody performs well, we think that is the usual standard of our child. So somebody comes first in one event, we expect that the child comes first in every event. But it doesn't happen. Somebody else wins World Cup, somebody else wins Global Swiss, and that's the thing. So uncertainty and sort of somebody winning because of good form in one event, losing another event, it has been happening even at top levels. And why do you expect that? That's one of the reasons why children are burdened. The parents' problem is also if our child comes first in under 8 state, and we expect the child to become under 10 champion, under 12 champion, under 14 champion, which isn't the normal cycle in any sport. So there it's adaptability or the experience at different level that matters. So sports is basically about trying your best and being healthy. Chess helps you being mentally healthy. Other sports help you becoming remaining physically healthy. And we compete with the idea of trying to win. If we fail it, it's okay, somebody else did better than that. So that mentality is also very important, because the thing that affects performance most is the performance consciousness. Most of the players do badly because of performance consciousness. That is one of the things. Now with regard to chess, there is a special advantage that if they are good at academics, children are good at academics, they'll need lesser time to go through that study when they play chess, because chess develops some powers and those are to be there for lifetime. Let us just look at the study by Garry Kasparov a decade back, 2014 exactly. And before the game of chess was introduced in the schools and universities in Germany, they had asked someone to give some evidence about chess helping a human being in becoming a sort of better person, better, competitively better, whatever it is. And Kasparov recommended a test wherein a group of children, 750 children, normal university, average children, were asked to do the regular things which they did. They didn't change anything. For 1 year, the other lot of 750 was given special class of mathematics. I think twice a week. And the third batch was given, 750 children were given special classes of chess and this happened for 1 year. Next year, after the exam, after 1 year of training, it was found that the average the students who didn't have any coaching remained the same. The students who had special classes of mathematics increased the percentage by 10 to 15% in mathematics, and chess led to overall growth where children did better almost 10 to 15%, that's 10 marks in every subject. Now what does that come from? You have spent 4 hours a week playing chess and you have not changed anything, then how is that you have done better in the academics? And that is where the secret of playing chess. It develops different qualities and faculties by which you will need lesser time to do the same observation or same work. So children, by playing chess, lose some time in playing. At the same time, they gain an ability of deciding things quicker, judgment improves, memory improves, and the analytical skills improve, which means that you actually end up doing more things in the same time. That's the aspect which has to be taken into account. Most of my Grandmaster students, S.L. Narayan for example, he came first in the board exams and he has got a record score of 1,400 marks out of 1,400 marks in the Trivandrum board. Now that sort of achievement cannot be expected by anybody. It's a record score which cannot be broken. So of course there are specific marks, 60 marks for sports, and he got his result more than that. So when you have got such capability of creating some natural winners, the people who develop the qualities of a winner, then we don't really need to worry about the academics. I have not seen a single example of a chess player not doing well in academics just because spent too much time for playing. So I think that first of all parents have to take into account that a child didn't study as much. If child was studying 10 hours a week and now child is studying 6 hours a week and playing 4 hours. That's also study time, because it's a personality development where you sort of learn to manage your time yourself. And some of the things, of course, the children have to be informed. As a child, I was going through the autobiography cum biography of Sir Donald Bradman, and he was a legend of cricket. Even today he is. And well, it was a question was posed to him, as he writes, that how is that he is. He had a regular routine of office job, 9:30 to 5:30, 5 days a week, and then how did he do better than the other cricketers? So he said, the time when earlier I was getting up at 8 o'clock to go for a job at 9:30, and now I started getting about 6 o'clock. So 2 extra hours I get, whether in the morning and in the evening. But those 2 extra hours I utilize for practicing cricket, and that is why I am better than others. So again, that's a very important factor, that if they are playing chess, they have to forego something else. They will have to probably reduce their surfing time or TV time or something of that sort. Yeah, you can't have the same routine, and you can't compare. The child also has to be healthy. But this anxiety about examination results you can forget, and you can concentrate on personality building by playing chess. And that is where, if the child is learning as a person or just memorizing the way, that comes into picture. That's again an aspect which has to be monitored by parents. But the anxiety that child may not do well in the academics is ruled out for a player. You can just see it, view it yourself. All the world champions, if we see, like Dr. Lakhs, 27 years world champion, was doctor of mathematics, and he was with various universities. Dr. Tarash, world number 2, was one of the most successful doctors of medicine, and world champion Dr. Alexander Alekhine was a doctor of law, and he was practicing advocate in France. He was practicing barrister, whatever their degree is, in France. So they were not professional players. They were brilliant in their own career, and they became top players. So it doesn't really need to be playing all the time. You could do other things normally. And as Shiv Kheda ji says, winners don't do different things, they do things differently. We need to learn at that, and that capacity chess is able to do. If you go at the people know the US currency note, but nobody knows whose photograph it is and on the US currency note, and it's a Benjamin Franklin, the scientist. Yes. Benjamin Franklin has written a book, Morals of Chess. It's one of the oldest chess books, and in his commentary he says, chess is not mere idle amusement. Several important human qualities are to be developed and nurtured by it, ready to be used at all times in life. So we develop some qualities which are going to be used. So it's not an investment for a success in an under 10 tournament or under 12 tournament. We are investing into a personality building of our ward, and our ward is going to be successful. How many players are IAS, IPS officers, those who played with in Inter University with me? Sometimes I get a message or a call, I'm so and so, I played with Ujjain University, Inter University, I saw you in Nagpur Inter University, and what do you do? I'm IS now, I'm a collector, now they're in a better position, so I'm department secretary, once Ajay Chaudhary ji, foreign secretary, and so many examples we have. And people are in very important positions. The chess players who didn't play chess professionally have reached very important, and many of them attribute to their success. Like our Chief Minister Vilasrao Deshmukh was an ardent chess player, and and even the Speaker of Lok Sabha, Balram Jakharji, was a university champion. They attributed their success in public life to their learnings in chess and by the nature of chess. So there are some of the things we need to take into account. Unfortunately, the chess fraternity has not made use of this information, but that's very important. Parents, be comfortable, your child is going to do well. That's something we need to give assurance to the parents, and I assure you your children will be more brilliant by playing chess. If they win or lose in the tournament, doesn't matter, as long as they are playing systematically, they are enjoying the game, and they are learning a process of analyzing your own acts. So analysis of game and analysis of your own personality, that is what chess develops. And let's look at that angle perhaps.
सर, हम पेरेंट्स, आप एक अच्छे बड़े कोच भी हैं, एक अच्छे बड़े प्लेयर भी रहे, इंडिया के फर्स्ट GM नॉर्म होल्डर रहे हैं सर आप। हम पेरेंट्स की ओर से ये जानना चाहते हैं आपसे कि ड्यूरिंग टूर्नामेंट एक बच्चे का टेम्परामेंट एक अलग हो जाता है, और नॉर्मली वो प्ले करता है कोई भी चेस गेम तो उसका टेम्परामेंट अलग होता है। तो ये जो चेस साइकोलॉजी है ये क्यों चेंज हो जाती है, या इसको कैसे रोका जा सकता है कि मतलब बच्चा जो एक नेचुरली प्ले कर रहा है वो प्रेशर लेता है, मतलब पर्टिकुलर कोई बड़े टूर्नामेंट में स्पेशली जैसे नेशनल्स में जब यहाँ सिलेक्ट होकर जाता है बच्चा वो काफ़ी अच्छा कर रहा होता है, जब नेशनल में जाता है तो उसकी परफॉर्मेंस वो नहीं दिखती है। तो इस साइकोलॉजी को हम कैसे मतलब ठीक कर सकते हैं बच्चे की?
एक्चुअली एक पर्सनैलिटी या कैरेक्टर एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट इशू है जो हम देखते नहीं। जैसे हमारे वी लिव इन जॉइंट फैमिली, मेरे बड़े भैया छोटे भैया सबके उनके दो दो बच्चे हैं, मेरा एक बच्चा है, तो पांचों बच्चे टूर्नामेंट में खेलते थे। वी नोटिस दैट दे डिडंट हैव दैट सॉर्ट, दे हैड इंटरेस्ट इन प्लेइंग चेस बट दे डिडंट हैव दैट desire, burning desire to come first or whatever it is. They were not nervous at the same time. They were not very particular about competitive tournaments, so they did not really play. So it's not a question of everybody is not fit for competitive sports. हम अगर बाकी लाइफ में देखते हैं, हाउ मेनी आर गोइंग फॉर IAS और IPS और दोज एग्जाम्स और प्रोफेशनल, हाउ मेनी आर रियली वांटिंग टू बिकम इंजीनियर्स एंड डॉक्टर्स. ओके, पेरेंट्स वांट देम टू बिकम इंजीनियर्स एंड डॉक्टर्स. हाउ मेनी चिल्ड्रन रियली वांट टू बी इन अ कॉम्पिटिटिव फील्ड? सो इफ यू आर नॉट कॉम्पिटिटिव बाय नेचर, then whatever efforts we take, we may not be very successful. So that parents have to see what is the character of the child, and we'll come to the basic of what is required for a successful player to be. So it requires a character. We see we had a great trainer in Dronacharya, but only 4 of his students became really strong. I think it was Duryodhan, Dushashan, Kauravas, and Arjun and Bhim. They were good warriors. Others were not good warriors. So again, it's a matter of character. You have to decide if your child is fit for professional sport. If the child is, then probably child won't be really impatient or nervous. If the child is nervous and unable to take pressure, perhaps professional sports is not for the child. That I think somewhere you will have to make it. So I think it is a wonderful thing, and we'll have a break of 10 minutes another, and we'll continue our discussion and watch our games. So I'll join you in 10 minutes time, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So welcome back to the 8th round of the second Indore International Grandmaster Chess Tournament being held at the IPS Academy. A wonderful event with 131 participants, more than half of which are international title holders. We have 16 countries participating, of it 4 continents are there. We have a player from South America, from Peru, and we have a player from North America, USA. We have a lot of African and Asian players, a lot of Indians. The top seed is an Indian Grandmaster Indian. We have 10 Grandmasters here, 2 women Grandmasters and 25 international masters trying to become Grandmasters. A lot of tough field, a lot of interesting matches. We still have 2 more games after today's game. We have a game tomorrow and the last round is on the 10th. The tournament is being sponsored by various organizations. The important ones are Indore Waste Management, Red Cross Society, Path Foundation, Navin Florin, Goel Group, and HDFC Bank, Dilip Buildcon, Kirloskar Brothers, and Mega Developers. So I have with me the organizers and esteemed government IS officer from Collector G. So we are this, and let's discuss the games. And of course, we have Akshat Kamparia, international master, who is assuming the role of organizer as well. So we'll learn about the game of chess and about the chess in Madhya Pradesh and chess in India now. Please.
Hi, good evening. So first of all, it's really a matter of pride for us that we have such a nice tournament going on in central India. Basically, we are seeing that in India, especially in this part of India, we don't have a dearth of good players, but they definitely need a platform. And I think such tournaments are a really good platforms, and exposure to such Grandmaster level games, such IM level games are definitely helping them, especially the budding students that we have. We are seeing students from the age of 8 or 9, those have ratings around 1700, 1800, and they are aspiring to become the youngest Grandmasters ever. So especially for those students, I think such tournaments are a boon.
Yes, indeed a wonderful opportunity, because to go and play such a tournament somewhere else, even in the country, for example Chennai or where it used to be Delhi, it's going to be expensive. A parent has to accompany. Organizing here is a big advantage. The parent doesn't have to travel basically, and that's big. And of course the organizers we have here, Akshat is one who is organizing, and of course Sunilji. And Ratiji has been doing an international tournament in Raipur. It was basically, so it's wonderful. It's because of these organizers, I must say that out of my 3 Grandmasters, now one of them was in India. I got one in London, one in Bangladesh, and one in India. So it's because of the tournament in India. So it saves a lot of effort and expenditure.
Yeah, Mr. Rishabh Gupta ji, IAS, he is also our patron of this event, and he is also a very good chess player. It's our pleasure that he is giving so much of time and is like service for the improvement of chess.
Yeah, great. I think what we really need, because if you have a graph, which are the states which are doing well, is of course the social support and the numbers, but the greatest things come when there is a support from the government, and that's where we really look forward to you, sir, from point of supporting at the government level. If you look at Tamil Nadu or Telangana particularly, we have a clear example of how government support makes Telangana and Andhra. Andhra produced a lot of champions in the early years of this century. And the achievement is, if you are a national champion, you are at least assured of at least a 1 minute interview with the 1 minute interview with the chief minister. And that's the time when we had Hari Krishna and Hampi and Rohit and Harika. Compared to that, the progress of Telangana and Andhra has now slowed down because of the change of government policies. So again, it does matter a lot, and it's great that you are a pattern here, but I think it's only a beginning. We need to go take it further, and where a lot of effort and a lot of involvement from the government officials will be needed, and I am sure you will be approached very often by MPC suggestion, but that is where we stand. I think cricket is the only sport which has survived without the government support. It doesn't need support because public has supported it. But yes, other sports do need government support, and I think that's something important. We need to. I'll quote when the World Championship was there, Karpov and Kasparov, when Kasparov became World Champion for the first time. Luckily, under the Indo-Soviet protocol, the entire Indian team was private to watching the match, entire match. And we went there, we listened to the commentary, and we were. The first question that was asked to Kasparov after he became champion was, "How is it you are so strong in chess?" And in a country where there are 4.5 million registered players and 400,000 players playing in the school games, it's natural that one of them emerges the champion. I just happen to be that one. So he's talking of a tree which is built on the basis of the bigger base, and it's not a singular example like Vishwanathan Anand. And we need to have that. You have good players, but the numbers are still less than the developed states, and we'll have to work on the numbers where a lot of players play seriously and play more in an analytical manner. That's what's required is some players keep on playing the same level entire life. Now that is not contribution to personality or contribution. We need to see that the child is learning and improving, and that is probably a parental role, not only the social role. Parents play very small role in undeveloped states, whereas in the developed states, parents are very vigilant and they take right decisions, which is also, I think, a requirement of this.
Recently, you can see that from India also in the candidates we are having Prag, Vidit, Gukesh and Vaishali as well, and due to which there is lot of boom as far as chess is concerned in amongst the other players who are basically the young players. So in the same contest, this is second international Grandmaster tournament in central India, which is the biggest prize funded tournament as far as chess is concerned. 35 lakh rupees is not a small money, and we as organizer we have tried our level best to provide all the facilities, and really it is appreciated by the players. Rishabh sir has visited the hall also, and you are here thanks to you also, because you are always helpful. Last time also you visited us, and just Rishabh sir, he is our patron, so he is also helping us out, not at the governmental end also, but personally also being chess player, he is with us. Now the important thing is our players from very say young age, how we can go ahead to have some model related with what you told, related with say Tamil Nadu or Andhra, but we have to provide the platform to all such players, not only the players but their parents. The boosting is required from the family side as well. So give some suggestions from Tipse sir and also from Rishabh sir, how the government can help us out in providing more confidence, because now new chief minister has come and he himself is a good player, not in chess but in wrestling he is there. So we believe that in Madhya Pradesh also there will be help from the government side.
Definitely, if we can talk about from the perspective of the government, the sports department of Madhya Pradesh is definitely, I think, one of the pioneer departments in India. We are regularly conducting Vikram Awards, and we have Eklavya Awards. Then we have prize monies for them. Apart from that, we are also offering some kind of vocations for the players who are performing really well in such sports. But as you said about cricket, I think one or two points need to be said. Firstly, for example, BCCI. BCCI is not a government body per se, which has been promoting cricket since times immemorial. So even if private bodies can join hand, they can perform wonderfully well with respect to the promotion of sports, especially a sport like chess. And secondly, what we have seen, that after the boom of IPL, we are actually witnessing a really large growth in the fan following of cricket. So we can, now that in the chess, we apart from the classical formats, we have Blitz, the Bullet, and of course the rapid format. So as these formats get more and more entertaining and more really nice commentators like you can basically promote this sport and make it more interesting, and basically so that any layman can follow what is happening in the game. If that can be done, I think this sport also has a very bright future with respect to the private partnership that we can have.
Yeah, I think from promotional point of view, we have to have general interest, like such programs where probably perhaps more than one commentator could also help. And it's not really necessary to have this tournament here. We could even have a channel where we have experts online, and we just show for example, the candidates tournament. We could have online commentary on the candidates where we receive the moves and we have commenting. That's possible. But taking to the masses, yes, we have during the lockdown under the initiative of All India Chess Federation's CIS Chess and School project. We had a specific meeting with the Armenians in Singapore export. We tried to follow them, and now I and my 5 collaborators who have been part of Indian team a few decades ago, old friends of mine, we have written a book which is about 300 pages book. The first part is a simple one around 104 pages, 105 pages, whereby by reading that a common individual, a grown-up person can teach a child. So it's basically for mothers and the school teachers to learn and teach them the basics of chess, which creates a large number. And then the second book is a bit advanced, where you really train them how to do better. After they have read both the books, perhaps that's the time when they play in the tournament. So now this entire syllabus has been worked more in a systematic way, because what happens is if we are teaching the post-graduation portion to a child of first standard, it's not going to match. And that is where often parents and sometimes the trainers are wrong. They want to see Kasparov's games or Carlsen's games first, so the child is only in the primary section. Right. So that is where we have to do, and the book has been written, it's already been implemented by the Orissa government. They have translated it in Odia and they launched it in October, and of course with the permission of All India Chess Federation. There are some formalities to be completed forward, but everything, details has been. Also, we need to market the things about chess which have been said by non-chess players. See, my saying that chess is a very useful game matters, but it doesn't matter all that. But what matters is I think Benjamin Franklin, the founding father and scientist, has written a book on chess, Models of Chess, and that what he speaks, what Benjamin Franklin spoke about chess. Chess is not mere idle amusement. Several important human qualities are to be generated and nurtured by it, ready to be used at all times. Now, isn't it a great asset for a parent to have a child who is going to have these qualities, that sort of these qualities are ready to be used in life, entire life? Or as Marcel Duchamp, one of the greatest French and American artists, he said, while I've noticed that while all the artists are not chess players, all the chess players are artists. So then, whereas you understand that it's not absolute science, it's a combination of art and science. For our child may not be necessarily gifted. Everybody cannot be a champion, everybody cannot be a grandmaster. At the same time, everybody can benefit by playing chess because of the advantages it gives to your personality, not by virtue of your winning the championship. Again, for parents, or rather for everybody, we know that under 8 champion, world champion is not under 10 champion. Somebody else becomes. And under 10 champion doesn't become under 12 champion, and very few world junior champions have become world champion. So what success are the parents are looking at? Do you want somebody to become under 8 MP champion? Okay, given. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a national champion or under 10 champion, under 12 champion, or a successful person. What you want is child become a successful person and playing chess in a systematic manner. What does the child learn? Every time I think the parents can ask, what did you learn today? And if the child is able to describe in 3 or 4 sentences, I think that's more valuable than which variation has my child memorized. So somewhere parents also have to be done. Of course, we know so much of information, like one of my games with Akshat, that is such a a complex game. We remember that I wasn't clear when I made the winning move, and then I was surprised. I started analyzing the move and I thought I was winning, and I had to check it, and then I checked it with the advanced Indians, and it's all perfectly played by both of us. So the position is winning for me. So it's, sometimes you are in a position of uncertainty, but that aspect, so let the sport have the aspect of sports where there is uncertainty, there is no guarantee. It's not a science where, okay, 2 plus 2 is 4, we know we have a guarantee there. So that uncertainty element and uncertainty of success has to be accepted by the parents. I remember that the many players whom I defeated in inter-school and inter-college, many of them joined IITs, many of them have become collectors and even IR services, many of them, I get very pleasant messages from IAS and IPS and IRS officers that we played in this university, and some the Nigam sir and others were, he was in income tax and revenue, and they were in touch. Ajay Chaudhary ji, foreign secretary, he was in touch, he got in touch after several decades, and he says, Praveen, nice to know you, nice to have your number. So these are the important people in the important position who are there to promote chess, and they do not get any sort of response from the chess fraternity. That shouldn't happen. Just try to get the best chess lovers in that. There will be many in engineers, there will be many in doctors, there will be many in judiciary, there could be some. So make use of these social icons, and perhaps we can have the status cricket where Coca-Cola and Pepsi may themselves come to say, okay, we want to sponsor your tournament. Something that we have to do. We are not tapping the chess lovers, and chess lovers are not able to tap you because they don't know who is the. So that is somewhere we have to break the ice. And we had planned, while Balram Dakharji was there, we had planned a Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha tournament, but somehow the members were not very happy because Balram Dakharji was a strong player, so the others refused the idea. But we are really trying for that, and I was national champion. I was also actively participating in those events. So such things we have to do. We have to market it the way Fischer and Kasparov did. So then Kasparov said that you shouldn't go in a public place shabbily dressed or shabbily shod. That's what Fischer said. You are representing a fraternity. People are, if there are people who are seeing the first chess player and they form a poor opinion about you, I'm going to form that opinion of all the players. Right. Somewhere we need to market it properly, and that is what is lacking. We give a lot of things to people by chess. The children become more intelligent. How people are going to know that? That is the aspect we need to work out. And Akshat, of course, Rajesh has been for 50 years. He's been promoting in the days where you have to put in your own money and with no guarantee of getting it back. Now at least we have some government support and we probably get it back after you invest. But there are times when we have support. We have traveled by unreserved and we stayed 40 people in one hall. That was a common in the nationals. So you stayed in dormitory and yet you made friends for lifetime. So, these are the aspects. Today's parents should know that it's not necessary for your child to go by AC or by flight. Perhaps you can do well even if you travel unreserved. So that's something I think the comfort and the competitive skill we have to see. We have the Gurukul system where the prince like Sri Krishna had to live in the same accommodation as the poor Sudama was living, and we have to accept that. That's where you really grow the personality, and that's parents need to be a little more vigilant about that. And
but talking about the Gurukul system, one thing I felt is that still, if we talk about chess, it is more reserved to private schools, to some better elite institutes. And one of the reasons is that whatever the courses that we have, the commentaries that we have, they are not available in vernacular languages. For example, if we see the growth of Russia, Russian content is always in Russian. They never study English content. Yes. And that is actually a very big reason why those players are very strong, because they are studying in their native language. One thing what I found was that in Hindi we don't have any particular good content, and we don't have any particular good collaborators. We don't have any people who are actually promoting chess in such languages. So if we can find such people who are willing to promote chess in our own language, I think that can also be a game changer in times to come.
Yes, I think it also depends on the mentality, because as I was talking to the 18th century things where a book was written by an American, Benjamin Franklin, and within less than I think 20 years it was translated in Russian, where the communication was so different, but the entire morals of chess was translated in the same century in Russia, where I think there's no communication, then there's no possibility to travel. So that inclination also should be there. I think we have some chess magazine, perhaps in Hindi also, no?
Shatranj Samrat is there.
It's being run, but unfortunately it has less than 1,000 subscribers, so it's a very nominal fee. And if we are looking at that, I mean, obviously everything cannot be done charitably, but we have people who are dedicated, people who are giving such time. And see, the Chief Minister of Odisha has taken initiative and translated the chess syllabus into Odia. So that somebody has to take the initiative, and that needs to be done. That has to be among from us, because yes, the government may be willing to do it, but somebody has to translate. Now the IAS officer, the breast of the person who knows English can't translate it. And let's quote a very interesting example of a Swiss League tournament. And the Grandmaster Bagheera was there, and you know that sometimes the chess players ask very silly questions. So there was Swiss League tournament, and somebody was asking about Swiss League tournament, not a question to be asked to a Grandmaster basically. And that too a Grandmaster. And then interpreter didn't know what's a Swiss League tournament, so he was keeping on translating to Switzerland. And after 2-3 times it happened, then finally Bagheera spoke the silence and said, "Perhaps this gentleman does not know what Swiss League tournament is." So then I said, if you can speak English so well, then why do we need it? That is where I think the chess people have to come and translate those books. And yes, somewhere a private publisher could make it cheaper venture. And yes, I think something has to be done in that manner. Tamil Nadu, although they don't have Tamil material, but they always get material translated, sometimes even illegally Xerox, but okay, we'll not come to that aspect, but still it has done very good. So somewhere we need to do it to a common man. We are not going to leave it only to the very elite community. What happens in very elite community, eventually many great players stop playing chess at a particular level because they have better career. When I started playing as a chess player, I completed post-graduation and I discussed with my parents. So they said that okay, you could go for either research, which was very lucrative, drugs and antibiotics, or I was getting a good job in the antibiotics. It was very good time in this 1980. And then I decided to play chess. So my parents said that you have two types of lives here. You are going to play sports, so you could be at the top, but at the same time, sportsman's career graph is always goes up for some time, and then basically after 7 or 8 years, somebody else is going to overtake you, and then you are not the best. Whereas if you join a job, even the government job, even better. Well, even if you join as an illiterate peon, you could become a graduate, become a clerk, and eventually get into a permanent. You always get increment for 30 or 40 years, and your retiring salary is much more than somebody who is a sports person or retired sports person. So most of my colleagues and friends are into important positions in pharmaceuticals, somebody general manager, somebody in director. If I look at that financial aspect, then I can never be happy. But that's not a financial aspect. I decided to forego that career for my pursuit of sports. So that also has to be clear. If we are comparing a job of IIT and then we say our son or daughter should earn more than that by playing chess, then we can't have, there's no guarantee of a Gukesh or a Praganand or Anand. There's no guarantee of that. So we have to take that risk. And I decided to play chess only for 2 years. I told my parents that if I become national champion and international master, in those 2 years, then I would play chess, otherwise I would go for a professional course. That's a thing which is required. I see many talented players have quit. As I said, IAS officers and doctors, many of them talented. I'm in touch with my college friends who are eminent doctors, some of them are government boards, and they play chess, they discuss chess with me, but they never play tournaments. So we have to see at that angle. Everybody should play irrespective of making it a professional. We play only for professional success, can't work. As Vladimir Lenin, the first thing after revolution, and he declared chess as a national sport, he said that chess can only be recreation and not a profession. It's one of the things we must know. And parents have to take that. We have to take that. 1 lakh children in MP play, maybe 100 of them play professionally. Others play to improve their personality and to improve their analytical skills, tacticals, and most Vijigishu. In Sanskrit we call it Vijigishu, will to win, ability to win. Something like character. Character building takes place in sport. It's not always natural. So start at a young age, child learns to basically it has been said by Aristotle that the winning then eventually becomes you are what you regularly do. So winning then excellence then just becomes a act of it just becomes an action and not a performance. So that sort of thing we need to develop. We need everybody. Also, the advantage of sports is that following the sports in the way you become a law abiding because there are specific rules. And I see a lot of parents they nahi bocha chota hai, let the child make illegal move. That's the first step of something wrong. I think a teaching of something wrong. So we need to go by that as well. Very strict we play, but at the same time we don't play to win. We play to enjoy. If you don't enjoy, play some other game. That sort of way to need to take. Let's see how the things go. And your contribution will be required, sir. And Sunil ji, Rathi ji, Akshat ji, all we have to work it as a team. And let's see. So
it's really great to have you here in Indore, the cleanest city for continuously
so many
7
years,
times.
yes.
Yeah, and Rishabh sir also very helpful as far as promotion is concerned. And today we are having the Challengers Trophy last day, and probably within say 10 to 20 minutes we will be having all the results and we will be having the function. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So we'll meet tomorrow at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. for the 9th round. See you tomorrow then. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.